Thank you very much, Todd and Marie, as well, for inviting me to join you at this event today. Now, I've got to get my slide up here, hang on. Okay. Now, when I was an independent 18-year young woman living in Sydney, I rented my very first apartment at Bondi Beach for around $120 a week, and it was a while ago. And at the back of the time, my income was around $400 a week, so that was sort of pretty manageable. Forward a little bit to 1992, and when I was 25, my husband and I bought our first house in Richmond in Melbourne for $90,000. The mortgage was between 65 and 70, if I can recall correctly. And we were able to manage that pretty much on about a quarter or a third of his income at a time, and anything that I earned went towards luxuries. Fast forward to today, and it's a very different conversation. We live in a time where we've got some pretty challenging societal issues that are going on. I'm going to go through a few of them now. Obviously, the high cost of living is an evident one. High cost of housing, and also limited affordable long-term rental availability. Stressed households with young families, particularly. The size of mortgages these days is very, very different to when I first had my first few mortgages. And along with that, generally comes 2 full-time incomes are required to actually manage the cost of housing. Then we have the high cost of childcare, and also limited childcare placements. And for those who do have children in childcare, there's not really a lot left in your pocket at the end of the week. The increased ageing population, we've heard that it is rapidly increasing. Australia's population, 3.2 million, over 65 is expected to reach more than 8 million by 2050. So we need to come up with some innovative solutions on how it is that we're going to care for and house elderly people. And then we have the younger generation, and we heard from Brent in regards to your stats on millennials, and thank you for that. I actually have 2 myself. They're grown-up kids now, and it's really interesting to hear the challenges that they're facing and the values and the value shifts that are going on with them now. But university housing, and even just some millennials finding adequate forms of accommodation, has become quite a challenge. I recently came across this article, which was in a Canberra newspaper, of a young girl called Sarah, and after being rejected something like 43 times to get rental accommodation, she ended up being homeless for 65 days. I personally think that's appalling that that's happening in this country. Now, that's my rental property. In Newport in Melbourne, I started renting it about 4 years ago, and I made the decision at the time to rent it to university students or to young people who didn't have a rental history at fair rental price. They didn't get any cheap deals on it. But I did that because I had 2 adults myself who were leaving home, and hopefully was hoping that somebody would give them an opportunity one day in terms of rental and giving them a hand up. Now, I just recently had to re-rent the property because our other tenants had left, and it was a very interesting experience for me because the amount of young people who came. Now, Newport is quite far from the universities that they were attending, which meant they had to come further outside of the city, but they were being rejected so many times that they were virtually begging me to give them an opportunity, not that they needed to, but also it was interesting how many offers I got of more rent for people who were financially able to do that. Now, I remember years ago living in suburbia in Newport, looking out on the street and the multiple houses that are there, and I only ever record seeing no more than 2, they're usually guys, mowing the lawn in the street of about 30 houses. I used to wonder back then, wouldn't it be interesting if every single household that had a lawnmower, because obviously every weekend the people mowing the lawns had changed, if they just had 2 or 3 lawnmowers in the street that we all sort of pitched in and bought, and then just had some kind of a booking system where we could share those lawnmowers so we all didn't have to have one. And that was a thought that I had about 10 years ago. And now we've got the tool sharing company, and there are lots of innovative people right now because of the sharing economy and the platforms that are available to us who are actually doing that. And I think it's fantastic that we're starting to really look at the resources that we have there. And we can thank technology now for the opportunity to do that. I actually started my career back in the analogue days and was a TV producer back then, and back with the big heavy cameras and the Super VHS tapes. So I've come through, the old tech days into today, and we actually do have so much available to us, and the accessibility is there. So if you have an idea and it's something you're passionate about, I encourage you to look at it. 360 is one of our partners. They actually have people that have got idle-free things that somebody else needs. They can, go and share them. And they're partnering with councils in hard rubbish pickup days to help eliminate waste. Now, with the room exchange. This is Guillaume, and Guillaume's French-Canadian. He met my adult daughter, went to a music festival and met him. He was travelling around Australia in a decked-out van, as backpackers do, and he gave her a ride back to her house, and they wanted to hang out and spend some time together. And Guillaume actually asked if he could sleep in his van in the street, and I said, absolutely not. We've got a spare bedroom upstairs. We're busy professionals and virtually empty nesters. How about you stay there? And he said, no, he didn't feel right because he didn't have the money to contribute to household costs. And I said, well, why don't you just help us out a couple of hours a day in exchange for your food and accommodation? And, we get an advantage there, and so do you. And he absolutely loved the idea. He actually lived with us for 18 months. He was our fourth exchanger, by the way. He ended up calling me Ma. His parents were so pleased that he had, this second family in Australia. He's had to now go back to Canada, and we're all quite sad about it. But it was just a really interesting experience, and through that time of having Guillaume as our fourth exchanger, so over 10 people started asking me where they could find someone like Guillaume, and with my entrepreneurial streak just running wild in my head, my husband and I thought, this is a potential business opportunity that we could definitely turn into a global platform. So, and through the research of that, I learned through finder.com.au had a stat that said that there's 7 million spare bedrooms in Australia. So to me, that is existing infrastructure. It's not anything that we need to build. So again, it's environmentally friendly. And if we can just access those 7 million bedrooms, we have the opportunity to create a feasible business. Now, who are our typical guests? They are busy professionals, so they could be made up of 1 or 2 people in a household. They could be university students or young people wanting to leave home, or they could be young families that just need that. I'm guessing we've got a few young families here who, would just love to have some help between 3 and 6 p.m. in the evening. In terms of our hosts, they're empty nesters as well. Sorry, I got that slide mixed up there. No, I'm good. I think something's gone awry there. Let me just check. In terms of our guests, they're university students, new starters, and new starters are what we call, there's a lot, specialty groups of people. A lot of women over 50 we're finding who, particularly divorced, are not having enough superannuation to be able to live on. They're actually becoming quite a big user group of ours. And millennials, just young people who are wanting to leave home that just can't afford that cost of living. And if you do have millennial kids at home and you sort of want to help to, kind of guide them into the independent future, this could be a really good segue for that too. Now, the whole idea, we talked about trust, we've talked about the opportunities that we have. Those 7 million spare bedrooms that we were talking about in Australia, they provide us with a solution for people who are looking to change the way that they live and find more time doing the things that they want to do instead of the things that they have to do, and spending more time with their loved ones instead of spending so much time stressing out about the payments and the mortgage, etc. This was a recent host that we had in Melbourne. Within a day of actually having this listed, it was snapped up. We're getting, we just officially launched only about 6 weeks ago. We've been working on the company now for a year. Fortunately, we've had a lot of media support with 9 national media pieces, which has been amazing. And we believe it's because of the social issues that, by default, that we happen to be supporting. And that was not in our initial plan. We just thought, man, it's such a great idea for us. It's giving us more time back. I don't do housework. I spend my weekends on my art or going away and seeing friends. It's just such a better, nicer way for us to live. But as the outcome is that sometimes it's surprising when you start something like this, it can actually have a roll-on effect. with some things that you never imagined. So I dare you, if you have an idea, don't be one of those people that say that, you know, you've found a problem and you've got a solution for it like we did. Instead of saying, gee, that would be a good idea, and somebody else at some point actually doing it, have a think about it, because you've got access to resources now that we never really had before. And it's been a really exciting time, and we are literally changing the way that people live, and we're creating micro-communities in the most intimate place of all, which is our homes. So please, if you feel like that maybe you might like to be a host in South Australia, it's our next state that we're rolling out to, and we invite you to contact me and make some inquiries. Thank you very much.